live on ESPN2. After the game, the Lakers rookie team heads to Las Vegas to get ready for the NBA Summer League. The Sparks lost at home to Minnesota last night. The Sparks are now 5-16 in the WNBA. They are 1-10 since June 9th. The Dodgers were pounded by Philadelphia last night. Dodgers right-hander Bobby Miller gave up 9 earned runs in just 4 innings. Congratulations to Corey Thompson. He's the new men's basketball coach at Winston-Salem State University. Thompson played at the HBCU school from 1998 to 2002. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the fastest growing talk radio station in Southern California. Home to 50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm Aviterus, for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@KBLA1580.com. That's advertising@KBLA1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got you black.
I recall like it was yesterday. I was in high school. I was the editor of the yearbook, and my yearbook photographer Dan and I were running around town shooting photos for our yearbook that year. And I got in Dan's car and he was playing an 8-track of some group called the Doobie Brothers. And when I heard this song come on, I just lost it. That day, I instantly became a fan of Michael McDonald, and I'm a bigger fan all these years later. Turn it up, Miles. Turn it up. Of course, I could not have known in that car with Dan that day, riding around town, taking photos for the yearbook, that I would ever meet Michael McDonald, let alone get a chance to interview him any number of times over the course of my career. I am honored once again, blessed once again, to be in dialogue with the iconic super singer Michael McDonald, who joins us now to discuss for the hour his new book. It's called What a Fool Believes, a memoir. I've had the honor, as I said, of interviewing this rock and roll Hall of Famer, Grammy Award-winning, platinum-selling musical genius many times in my career. But now that the memoir is out, I'm really excited about this conversation. I am pleased to welcome to this program Michael McDonald. My friend, how are you, sir?
Good, Tavis. Good to talk to you again. How you been?
I'm good, man. If I complained, I'd be an ingrate. It's good to talk to you again. It's been too long since I've heard your voice. How have you been, for starters?
I've been okay, busier than I thought I would be at this point.
Yeah.
But having fun. We're out on the road and enjoying ourselves. For guys our age, as much as you can at our age.
Yeah. What do you make of? Let me rephrase that. Not what you make of. Let me be more exacting here. How have you, over all these years, protected your instrument? I mean, when you're on stage, you still got it. The falsetto, the upper register. A lot of singers lose that as they become more chronologically gifted. Let me put it that way. So how have you protected your instrument all these years, Michael?
It has come and gone over the years, and but I honestly wish I had an answer to that. I get a lot of sleep now. When I'm on the road, especially, I try to make sure I get my 6 to 7 hours at least in, and it's not easy out here because I start to live by bus driver hours. We travel by night, and so we mostly sleep when we get in the morning up until showtime. So it's kind of a life of a vampire out here. But I do get it, and the importance is that no matter where I get it or when I get it, that I get it, so I keep my voice from leaving me somewhere in the middle of the tour.
Yeah, we were talking about Joe Biden earlier on today's program. Of course, I'm talking about Joe Biden every day these days, whether I want to or not, because it is the story of the moment. And you all heard Joe Biden say days ago that he needs more sleep. He told those Democratic governors, "I need more sleep. I got to go to sleep earlier. They're working me too hard past 8 p.m." So all jokes aside, Michael McDonald is right. As you get older, and for that matter, even if you're not that chronologically gifted, we have to get more sleep. I'm talking to myself now. Sleep matters.
Yeah.
Sleep does, in fact, matter. So I hear Michael's point. Let me ask you this, and we'll jump into this book here. What do you still enjoy all these years later about being on the road? I asked that because I've talked to so many artists who love what they do, but so many have retired from doing it on the road. Frankie Beverly just retired the other day from being on the road. I've talked to Aaron Neville not long ago, and his memoir came out. So a lot of these guys still love what they do. They just don't love doing it on the road. And so many people start making choices to go to Vegas for a residency because they love performing in front of live audiences. They just hate being on the road. And here you are still traveling by bus doing what you do, man.
Yeah, I mean, did I ever think that in my 70s I'd be sleeping in a bunk on a bus? No, but I always say that's what they pay us for, the travel part. The playing at night for these people that have come out to see us over the years, for over 50 years, some of them now. We do that for free, but it's the travel that really is the biggest part of our day as far as work is, just getting there and getting things set up, getting things right, and then, what we go through is one thing. What our crew goes through is almost a monumental human effort to get the show up and running by the time people get in the venue,
Yep. Speaking of tour, he's on tour right now through October with the Doobie Brothers, with special guests Robert Clay and Steve Winwood. It's an amazing tour. Our guest is Michael McDonald. His memoir is called What a Fool Believes. You're listening to Michael right now, and I'm glad about it, on Tavis Smiley.
So very nice. Here, darling, stands another bandit wanting you in about your life. They come and they go, baby. Your days and nights like a wheel.
From the Mert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Looks like Bobby needs a ride again.
Grab the keys.
Let's take our auntie to the swap meet.
Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, do it all in a Chevy SUV. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Malibu, Colorado, Blazer, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Traverse limited models. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 15.8% must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 7/1/24.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to hims.com/joy. Through HIMS, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to hims.com/joy. That's HIMS.com/JOY.
Mayfresh Daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
I have told Michael McDonald any number of times over the course of our many conversations over the years that he is top of my list for blue-eyed soul singers. Everybody black has their own list of the coldest, the baddest blue-eyed soul singers, and Michael McDonald tops my list. I love this dude, and I'm honored to have him on this program for the hour. His new memoir is out. It's called What a Fool Believes. What else would you call it? Speaking of which, Michael, was there any other choice aside from What a Fool Believes?
You know, Tavis, we thought about it. I for one didn't like the title, What a Fool Believes. Mm-hmm. I thought it was too obvious, but and I wanted something more, abstract and weird sounding. But I got the advice of Paul Reiser. He said, this is really the best title. And as we wrote the story kind of emerged from us just getting together, and he started out interviewing me early on about just things. Paul was always curious about those days of Steely Dan and the Doobie Brothers and early days in the 70s and 70s music. So that's really where the book kind of started, but it turned into a story about just how random, anyone's personal life is, and in spite of whatever, shit show you have going on, things can happen if you just are looking for the doors to open, and I think if I ever did anything right, it was just I always said yes instead of letting myself think too much about what I was saying yes to, and that was kind of my MO was just say yes and see what happens, and in my case, some wonderful things came my way,
I want to talk about saying yes as we move through this hour. Since you mentioned Paul Reiser, I want to go there anyway. So this audience knows Paul Reiser, I think, as the star of that long-running sitcom Mad About You. As a matter of fact, he wrote and sang the theme song at one point for Mad About You. I've known Paul for years, and we've hung out, spent some good time together. And when I saw that it was written with Paul Reiser, I was like, wow. I mean, Paul has done so many things well. You kind of gave a little bit of the story a moment ago, but tell me again how you and Paul connected on doing a book together.
Well, we've known each other for about 20 years. Okay. We met at a party, like most people in Hollywood, and he just happened to live next door to this party. And afterwards, I wound up back at his house. We were in his studio playing the piano, and he had two grand pianos kind of set opposite of each other. So we were kind of like Ferranti Teicher, sitting in the studio and just playing old songs, old Motown songs, old Beatles songs, and just talking about the songs we liked, from our childhood or, from our younger years, and what we found amazing about them. And we found we had a lot in common about our musical taste and stuff. But, we remained friends through the years. Paul would always come hear us play, and whenever we played L.A., if he could. And he and I had actually written a piece of music around here and there, talked about doing some projects together that we never really got around to. But when this came up, Paul is kind of naturally interested in other people, being a writer, being an actor, writing books. It's kind of a natural tendency that he has. He's very genuinely wants to know what makes you tick, And so, as in our friendship, he would always ask me, he goes, "Tell me about this. How did this happen? How did you wind up in the Doobie Brothers from Steely Dan or whatever?" And I would tell him the stories, or I would tell him funny stories that had to do with those questions. And he said, "You should write a book so I could quit pestering you." And I said, "Well." I said, I thought about it, but I wouldn't know where to begin. He goes, "Well, let me help you, So, first of all, how lucky am I, that this guy with his skill set and his talent for doing such things would actually make that offer. So I couldn't pass it up.
Yeah. No, Paul's a great guy. As a matter of fact, we have a guest coming up later in the program, a comedian, Affion Crockett, who appears in Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F., Eddie Murphy's latest iteration of the Beverly Hills Cop franchise. And Paul Reiser, of course, was in the original, and he shows up again in this Axel F. version. So I literally just saw Paul Reiser the other night, and so I was fascinated to know that I'd have you on the program today with this book co-written with your friend Paul Reiser. Now, let me jump inside the book. I can't do justice to your life, man, in a 60-minute conversation, Trust and Believe. Folk will have to get the book and read as I did. It's called What a Fool Believes, a memoir. I promise you will not be disappointed if you are a Michael McDonald fan, and most of us are, obviously. But I know this because you and I discussed this before in prior public and private conversations. But the audience may not know that Michael McDonald is born in Ferguson, Missouri. Yes, that Ferguson, Missouri. So let me ask you two questions to get out of your way. One, what was it like growing up in Ferguson, Missouri when you were raised there, when you were born there? And how did you process the nation coming to know Ferguson, Missouri through a very different lens some years ago, Michael?
Well, both very good questions. When I grew up there, it was the 50s, in the 60s, early 60s. It was very typical of a lot of the U.S. and the societal barriers for African American people. It was a very segregated community, I guess as far as it was becoming a suburb of St. Louis, and that all being kind of a product of white flight and people moving out to the suburbs. It was it was a harbinger of what what was really wrong with our society. It was pointing to our problems, more that we just refuse to look at as a society, as a culture, in America. We were, institutionally, constantly, trying to bend over backwards to separate ourselves from ourselves. It was just kind of that kind of dysfunctional process where people moved out there for jobs. McDonnell Douglas was out there, Fisher Auto Body, and everybody was pretty much in the same boat, trying to pretend they didn't exist. And I never did understand that, even growing up as a kid. Those were the things that I started to realize, that the world was not such a friendly place. When you're a little kid, you kind of your parents and your immediate family, and everything seems to be okay. Maybe but you feel a certain you're allowed a certain innocence until you start to see pictures, understand what's going on in the newspapers, and you see pictures of the atom bomb, or you see people living in strife, that really shouldn't be, in our country, and in this whole thing about human nature, where we make something that is totally insignificant, like the color of our skin. It doesn't. It has nothing to do with who we are, but any more than the color of our eyes, But we made it an issue institutionally, and we made it an issue in this country, and it proved to, it still is our greatest, character defect as a society, as a humanity, how we don't make the decision consciously to not pass that on to our children is mind-boggling, really. Why would we pass something like that on to our children? What's the difference when we really all are just human beings, and we want the same things? We want our children to grow up in a world that's relatively safe, with the dignity of being a human being, and being living among other human beings in a just and solvent and equal society.
How then did you process the whole world watching Ferguson just go up in flames? We all know the story, but how, as a guy from Ferguson, how did you process watching all that on every TV network?
A myriad of feelings. I was, I guess, disappointed, because really up to that point, most of my friends I grew up with still live in Ferguson or in St. Louis area, and I was in touch with many of them since high school, guys that I knew and played music with. But Ferguson had become kind of a model community in terms of being a community that had grown into itself. The ability to function as a city. It hadn't changed much. When I went back to Ferguson, everything looked the same, except that there were people of multiracial people living in all the neighborhoods that used to be exclusively white or black. That had all changed, and really for the better. I think St. Louis was, in some areas, voted one of the best towns for racial reconciliation and the ability to grow into itself, as a city that had kind of done well to get past all the institutionalized racism that really has always, plagued us. It was no different in Ferguson growing when I grew up. The banks, the schools, the churches, everyone had their part in separating us as human beings and keeping some kind of status quo, in that respect. And those things had seemed to wane, and businesses were, across the board. There was black-owned businesses, white-owned businesses. Everything seemed to be going really well, So when that happened, it kind of caught me by surprise because I remember talking to friends going, yeah, it's a different place, and we're really kind of proud of Ferguson now, But that all kind of, like you say, went up in flames for a moment. But what that does point to is how insidious and baffling and cunning and powerful racism really is. And how the whole idea of white supremacy, we're seeing it now, in the whole political climate. Somebody can say stuff that makes absolutely no sense. It can be a blithering idiot, but if he rubs the back legs together and makes the right sound, they all come crawling out from under the rocks, and it becomes this plague of locusts, and all of a sudden you're going, where did these people come from, and how did we get here? It's I think it's just baffling to most people, and we don't do enough to be proactive and ignore it. I hope what we'll see in this election is people will stop wondering about Joe Biden's last medical examination and look at his record, because he's done a great job in the 4 years he's had. He's been a stellar in foreign policy and brought us back into the forefront and a leader internationally with NATO. And repaired the ashes that Donald Trump left it in. And, let's face it, NATO, you can criticize NATO, and, that's really the nature of these people, to criticize everything. You can criticize the auto unions. Are they corrupt? Well, of course, yeah. There's a history of that. But would there be a middle class in the United States but for the auto unions and the Teamsters Union? The only middle class we have left is here because of unionization. That's right. And the right to unionize. So, you have to take the good with the bad, and NATO is the best shot we got. It's the only thing that's kept our, biggest rivals from making, what we're seeing now, go making a play for the rest of the world. We may see a time when Alaska goes back to Russia if we're not careful. If we keep, tickling Putin's nipples.
Michael McDonald knows music, obviously, but Michael McDonald also knows politics. I did not know where asking about Ferguson would go, but I did not want to interrupt. But clearly, the murder of Michael Brown changed everything. And I remember that night watching, in the days to come, watching this story unfold in Ferguson, Missouri, and remembering that my friend Michael McDonald was born and raised in Ferguson, Missouri. And so he talks about growing up in Ferguson in this book. It's called What a Fool Believes, a memoir. I'm so glad that Michael McDonald finally got around, along with Paul Reiser, to writing his story. We'll interrogate more of it when we come forward, including the music stuff. I know what you want. I want it too. Let's talk about the music. Steely Dan, the Doobie Brothers, the solo hits. We'll talk about that part when we come forward with Michael McDonald on Tavis Smiley.
Unapologetically progressive. Unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Ray Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Over 2 million people in Houston are living in misery after Hurricane Beryl slammed the area. Many are still without power as near triple-digit temperatures move into the area. An American Airlines flight made an emergency landing after an organ man exposed himself and urinated in the plane's aisle. This while the aircraft was in flight. The 25-year-old was arrested and faces charges following the mid-air incident. American Airlines Flight 3921, operated by Envoy, was traveling from Chicago to Manchester, New Hampshire, but diverted to Buffalo after the incident occurred. And that's the latest. I'm Ray Harris on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Hey DQ fans, behold the DQ Freezer. Not just an ordinary freezer, but an extraordinary freezer, holding all of the DQ Blizzard Treat flavors of the past. Now it's opening its doors for the Salted Caramel Truffle Blizzard Treat, only at participating DQ locations.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The next opportunity for you to evaluate Bronny James and his NBA future happens today at 4 p.m. LeBron's son and the Lakers rookie team will play the Miami Heat in the final game of the California Classic in San Francisco. Bronny sat out Monday's game with a sore left knee, but he will be in the lineup today. You can catch the game live on ESPN2. After the game, the Lakers rookie team heads to Las Vegas to get ready for the NBA Summer League. The Sparks lost at home to Minnesota last night. The Sparks are now 5-16 in the WNBA. They are 1-10 since June 9th. The Dodgers were pounded by Philadelphia last night. Dodgers right-hander Bobby Miller gave up 9 earned runs in just 4 innings. Congratulations to Corey Thompson. He's the new men's basketball coach at Winston-Salem State University. Thompson played at the HBCU school from 1998 to 2002. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Raw Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Raw Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, where climate is king. Climate is king.
The best nugs are now even better. Wendy's new saucy nugs take the nugs you love and sauce them up in bold flavors, including buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, and spicy ghost pepper. Try them all today. For a whole new way to nug, it's gotta be Wendy's, a participating U.S. Wendy's.
SoCal on July 14th, Big 3. We're back. The world's greatest basketball in the summer. The Big 3. There's simply no comparison, no competition.
They not like us.
That's right, they not like us. We own the summer with our traditional hard-nosed brand of basketball. The Big 3, founded by Ice Cube. It's professional 303 basketball with former NBA greats and Hall of Fame coaches. Come out to the Honda Center July 14th. Hang with your homeboy Ice Cube and watch the greatest game in the summer. It's your homeboy Ice Cube. It's the Big 3, Season 7. The hottest game of the summer. I'll be in the house with your favorite Big 3 players and Hall of Fame coaches. Get your tickets at big3.com/tickets. Oh, yay, yay.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Michael McDonald, we'll let that ride for a little bit. Just let it ride, Miles. While that rides, tell me about being a vocalist, a musician and background vocalist for Steely Dan before you become a founding member of the Doobie Brothers. We'll talk about the Doobies to be sure, but tell about the Steely Dan days.
Well, that was for me the gig of a lifetime. I was playing clubs mostly and doing sessions in LA infrequently, but enough to, kind of keep my ear to the street, so to speak. And a lot of the club gigs I was doing, there was guys in there that were also, played sessions once in a while, and they were playing on Steely Dan records or auditioning to go on the road with Steely Dan. And I would hear these guys talk about, I'm going to an audition for Steely Dan. They're going to tour. And I'd be so jealous, I'd think, oh, man, that was my favorite band at the time,
Yeah.
I thought, how do you get that gig, So it all kind of came to a head for me when I did a casual for Universal Studios. We played a Christmas rap party for one of the TV shows. And I put together a band, just kind of impromptu, some guys I didn't even know, who were, they played sessions mostly, so they would be free in the evening to do this gig. And I met them through a friend of mine who was the only other musician I had at the time. I was kind of panicking because I was a week out from this gig and I had no musicians, no band, no anything. And so I thought, I'm going to blow this if I'm not careful. And this guy goes, I know some guys. And make a long story short, he called up the guys and they said, sure, we'll come down and play and just have some chord charts of about 2 hours worth of music. And, it was up to me to learn the words to most of these songs because I hadn't sung that many songs before by myself, know. And so it turns out it was Jeff Porcaro and David Page and Mike Porcaro, who would later become the group Toto, and had played, a lot of sessions, and were working currently at the time on the Pretzel Logic album for Steely Dan. So, during the breaks at this gig, we would talk about. I was asking them questions about Steely Dan, and I was obviously interested in. And they were telling me about the sessions and Donald and Walter, and I was just so intrigued. It was about a year later I got a call from Jeff Porcaro through a mutual friend, and he said, why don't you come down and audition? Because we're looking to do this tour finally, and you could probably handle these background parts and some keyboard parts. And I said, well, yeah, when I'm free all week. He goes, well, how about right now? So I threw my piano in the car and drove to this rehearsal. And about 5 hours into this rehearsal, I realized, well, they haven't asked me to leave yet. So I don't know if I have the gig or what's the deal. So when they asked me to come back the next day, I thought, well, maybe it's a possibility I'm actually in the band. No one's said anything yet. And it turns out, I went on to rehearse with them for the better part of that week, and we left on tour for about 2 or 3 months in the U.S., wound up touring Europe, and we came back just in time for the band to break up, which is typically the way those gigs go,
Yeah, so the band, I'm hustling through this. So that band ends up breaking up, but it ain't too far off in the distant future before the Doobie Brothers come online. What do you recall about that band coming online?
Well, the reason I got that gig was due to my friend Jeff Baxter, who played guitar with Steely Dan, Skunk Baxter, and he went on to, when the band broke up, he just stayed on the road for the better part of that whole year with everybody from Elton John to the Doobie Brothers, a myriad of different bands that were touring at the time. And so he called me out of the blue, a little while later. He goes, one of the guys has, had to kind of drop out, and we've got this whole tour booked, and the band wants to kind of just is voted to kind of continue on and do these dates rather than cancel the whole tour. Would you be available to come out and play some keyboards and maybe take some of the lead vocals and sing a bit, And I knew some of their songs from playing all these club dates, we played a lot of Doobie Brothers, But so I had literally 24 hours to show up in New Orleans and rehearsed for 2 days with the band and learn their whole songbook, and which back in those days I was much more capable of doing something like that. My memory's not what it used to be, But I could learn things pretty quickly, and we went on the road, and next thing I know, I'm on the road with the Doobie Brothers for 6 months, and wound up hanging out with them and doing the next record, which was Taking It to the Streets.
Yeah, and stay with them for how many years?
Well, see, from that point on, that was 1975, and I was probably with them till 1983. You know.
Yeah.
We did about 5 or 6 albums, I think. Yeah.
No, you did that, man, and hit after hit after hit after hit. When you decided to leave the Doobies, and you talk about that in the book, of course, the reason for that was what? I mean, not every, well, every artist who's a part of a group who decides to leave has, of course, his or her own decisions for doing so, and there's a long list of y'all who've left and had great solo success. You are one of them. But what were your reasons for leaving the Doobies?
Well, it was a kind of a complex chain of events. You know, I think the first time we had actually gotten back together, Pat had left the band, you know, and Pat was really the last original member of the Doobie Brothers. Pat and Tommy started the band together along with John Hartman, and Tyrone Porter was more or less an original member of the band. There was one guy before him, but bass, for all intents and purposes, he was the original bass player. And, you know, when Pat left, and Tyrone wasn't there anymore, and there was none of the original guys left, I didn't feel personally like I had the right to continue on as the Doobie Brothers. You know, at that point, you know, we would be getting up in front of audiences and you know, under the name the Doobie Brothers, but there was no one there that was originally original part of the band, and a big part of the hits that they were responsible for. We would be playing a lot of music that none of us were really around for, you know. So we kind of decided to cash it in and just go our separate ways, and you know, for whatever that meant. And it was a hard decision because there was a lot of people that were, you know, employed by the band, and not just the band itself, but the crews, the people in the office. It was not an easy decision to make, but we just felt like it was the only decision, you know. And but they got back together later. They just, you know, I guess they forgot to call me.
No, they
you know,
they didn't forget to call you, man. You were busy having all kind of solo success and doing all kind of collaborations with other artists. Patti LaBelle, the list goes on and on and on of all the folk you collaborated with. Say nothing of your Motown stuff, which we'll get to hopefully before I lose you in this hour. But speaking of collaborations, here is one of my favorites.
In my life, I've been wondering why. Still somehow I believe we'd always survive. Now I'm not so sure you're waiting to hear one good reason to try. But what more can I say? What's left to provide? You think that maybe it's over, only if you want it to be. Are you gonna wait for a sign, your miracle? Stand up and fight. This is it.
I told you earlier that I was with my friend Dan in high school, in his car, his Duster, I recall it now, when he turned me on to the Doobie Brothers. And from that point on, I was a huge Michael McDonald fan. I was watching the Grammys in 1981 when this song, I was rooting for it to win. It won as Best Male Pop Vocal Performance. This Is It by Kenny Loggins. But the song is co-written by one Michael McDonald, and that's Michael McDonald you hear on the background vocals on This Is It. More with Michael McDonald and his amazing musical career and his memoir, What a Fool Believes, when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Keep me near in your heart.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams. My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
KBLA Talk 1580 is now celebrating 3 years of amplifying our voice and uplifting our community. We deeply appreciate your support of this radio station and will always do our level best to earn your support. Here's to many more years of loving and serving our community. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
I know it's gonna happen without you.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Sounds different, huh? This is Tavis Smiley.
Speaking of collaborations, Michael McDonald has done so many. I love This Is It with Kenny Loggins. I love this, Yamo Be There with James Ingram, who I consider a dear friend. I miss James Ingram every day. Michael, just say a word. I'm losing, my time is running away from me. I'm losing it by the second here. But just say a word to me about all the collaborations you've done over the years.
Well, those have really been, for me, the lifeblood of what I do. I've always considered myself more or less a musician among other musicians, and that's where I always kind of drive my passion for it, was working with other guys, and James was one of those people that really stands out in my history personally for me, because more than just I like everybody else, that voice of his was one of my favorites, and the stuff he and Patty did together was just so amazing. But as a person, I really love James, and I learned a lot from him.
You said,
just as a friend.
You said earlier that one of the great joys of your career, one of the great factors in your success, is that you've been willing to say yes to things that have taken you places you imagine you'd never go. But saying yes can also get you in trouble at times. But you seem to make some pretty good choices over the years in terms of collaborations. Is there a process for how you decide who to collaborate with or not?
I think the only process for me is I try to not delve on all the reasons why I shouldn't do it as much as the possible reasons I should. I think more than anything, I try to remember that you gotta know that you may not know who you're talking to. It's so easy in this business to decide who's important and who isn't important. And I think what you realize is, that you really have no idea who's important and who isn't important, and you really should never underestimate the potential of a relationship, as they come along, until somebody proves to you that it's not a healthy one, But I think there's plenty of time to figure that out. But I've always decided that, I never know who I'm talking to, and like when I talk to young musicians, I'm always amazed at, and I look back over the years at how many of those guys were just guys that had just come to town, or that I met when they were just starting out, who really went on to do some really wonderful projects and important things that are musically important to me.
Yeah, Michael has had an amazing career. I told you almost an hour ago, no way I could do justice to this career in a 60-minute conversation. But he has survived the highs and the lows, the drug and alcohol addictions that plagued him at one time. Of course, fame and popularity always ebb and flow. We'll talk about that part in our remaining moments with Michael McDonald. His memoir is called What a Fool Believes. I'm pleased to have him right now on Tavis Smiley.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chuchas opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chuchas Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties: classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
Michael McDonald, you just keep running, man. You just keep running, you keep running, you keep running. That's why I chose this track to close with. I got about 3.5 minutes left here. As you look back on your 50-plus year career, which, again, I could not do justice to in this 1-hour conversation. I love the book, and I know listeners will as well. It's called What a Fool Believes, a memoir by Michael McDonald with Paul Reiser. How have you survived when others did not? The drug and alcohol addictions, the highs and lows of fame and popularity. You keep running, man. You keep on running.
Yeah, well, man, I've just been very fortunate. As far as my addiction, it's just something I'll always live with. But I just one day at a time, I choose to embrace sobriety these days. And it's brought about a lot of results for me. That if I had to make a list when I first got sober of all the things I thought I wanted out of life by virtue of not drinking and using anymore, most of what's important to me today wouldn't have been on that list back then. So I've learned a lot, in the process, and I'm glad. I'm grateful for that. Increasingly more grateful every day. Yeah.
It is one of the finest musical memoirs I think you'll ever read. Just an amazing career, working with anybody and everybody. You think about the hits, you think about the sessions, you think about the background vocals, the collaborations. Just an amazing career. As I said at the top of this hour, I've been honored over the course of my career to spend any number of times in dialogue with Michael McDonald, and it is never lost on me in those moments to just be present, because you're talking to one of the best who has ever done it, and I've been delighted to have had him on this program for the hour. The memoir is called What a Fool Believes. Michael McDonald with Paul Reiser. Michael, congrats on the book. I know you got a tour to finish between now and the rest of the year. I should mention again, he's on tour right now. Just Google it. You can find out where he's going to be. But they're on tour now through October with the Doobie Brothers. Michael is with special guests Robert Clay and Steve Winwood. That's a heck of a lineup. Again, the tour goes through October. MichaelMcDonald.com/tour. MichaelMcDonald.com, that is, /tour. Michael, I love you. There ain't nothing you can do about it, man. I just love you.
Tavis, it's always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
You stay strong. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Ray Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Over 2 million people in Houston are living in misery after Hurricane Pearl slammed the area. Many are still without power as near triple-digit temperatures move into the area. An American Airlines flight made an emergency landing after an organ man exposed himself and urinated in the plane's aisle. This while the aircraft was in flight. The 25-year-old was arrested and faces charges following the mid-air incident. American Airlines Flight 3921, operated by Envoy, was traveling from Chicago to Manchester, New Hampshire, but diverted to Buffalo after the incident occurred. And that's the latest. I'm Ray Harris on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Hey DQ fans, behold the DQ Freezer. Not just an ordinary freezer, but an extraordinary freezer, holding all of the DQ Blizzard Treat flavors of the past. Now it's opening its doors for the Salted Caramel Truffle Blizzard Treat, only at participating DQ locations.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute.